Welcome to the Nourish to Thrive podcast, faith-forward, science-backed strategies for women who want more energy, less weight, and real answers. I'm your host, Tanya Pennington-Miller, a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and functional blood chemistry specialist with a master's degree in applied clinical nutrition. If you're tired of feeling dismissed by your doctor, confused by your labs, and stuck in survival mode, you're in the right place. Here, we simplify the science. We get to the root, and we anchor it all in truth. Because God made your body to heal and thrive, not just survive. It just needs the right kind of support and less noise. Hello, my friend. Welcome into the Nourish to Thrive podcast. I'm so glad you're back with me today. Last week, we talked about that all or nothing spiral, the one that pulls so many women into extremes. And that conversation really stirred something in me that I want to talk about this week. And if you're listening in real time, then you know that we are in the season when the world starts whispering about fresh starts, new goals, the year that everything changes, right? It's that time of, what is your New Year's resolution? And listen, I actually love that energy. I love the hope. I love that surge of excitement that we feel at the possibility of turning a corner. But that same energy can also become a trap. So it can become a trap that pushes us right back in to that all or nothing spiral that we just talked about. So I want to help to set you up for success this year. But today's episode is not just about New Year's resolutions. So if you are listening to this during a different part of the year, keep listening. This is about any moment when you feel that pull toward a fresh start, whether it's a Monday, a birthday, a new month, a vacation coming up, or maybe it's just a Wednesday afternoon when you have given up on your nutrition plan for the day and you decide, I'll start again fresh in the morning. And I want to talk about why so many of these commitments fall apart, even when your heart is fully in it, like you mean what you say. And this is what I need you to hear. Resolutions don't fall apart because you aren't committed. It's because most resolutions ask something of your brain and of your body that they were never designed to sustain. I want you to stick with me on this, okay? Today, we're going to talk about why the resolutions fall apart, because most resolutions actually work against how God designed the brain and the body to actually change. And then we're going to talk about how to do it differently in a way that will build follow through. So before we talk about what to do differently, let's take a closer look at how God designed your brain and your body to handle change. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that the brain isn't wired for massive behavioral overhauls. And I want to start here because this one truth alone takes so much shame off of your shoulders. You can be the most motivated woman in the world, deeply sincere, fully committed, ready to change. And your brain will still push back if the plan is too big, if it's too fast, or if it's too sudden. And that's because your brain has one primary job. And that job is to keep you alive, not to make you productive, not to make you ambitious, not to help you become the quote unquote new you on January 1st. Like, its job is survival, it's predictability, it's conservation of energy. Like, that's what it's always scanning for. So when you set a giant resolution, like I'm going to work out every single day, I'm cutting sugar out for the entire year, I'm waking up at 4:30 every morning from now on, I'm completely changing my diet overnight, right? No carbs, only meat, 6-hour fasting window daily, whatever it is. Your brain doesn't register that as inspiration. It registers that as a threat, especially when you're coming from a completely different place where you haven't been doing these things already. Because from a physiological standpoint, anything that demands a sudden surge of energy or discipline or willpower is seen as a potential stressor. Now, this doesn't make the goal wrong, but it's the size of that change that feels unsafe to your nervous system. And it's important for me to point out that there's nothing wrong with big goals. Wanting to push your body, build strength, rise to a challenge, is a really beautiful thing. Like if you told me that you wanted to run a marathon someday, I would say amazing. But we'd also both agree that you're not going to run it tomorrow. You would train for it. You would build up mile by mile until your body could support that distance. Same thing with pull-ups. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do 10 pull-ups in a row. But you're not going to walk into the gym tomorrow and crank them out if you haven't been training for them. You would build your grip strength, your core stability, your lat strength, right? You might practice negatives, maybe with bands, assisted reps, because your body needs time to adapt. So big goals aren't the problem. Trying to leap into them without training is the problem. And it's the same with resolutions. Like we set these massive expectations on January 1st or any fresh start moment, and we expect instant performance with zero training, right? Zero buildup, zero rhythm. Your brain and your body can absolutely support big change, but they can't support sudden big change. And when a resolution is too big or too fast, it triggers this biological resistance that shows up as small, familiar patterns like procrastination, overwhelm, avoiding the thing that you said you were going to do, overthinking the plan, self-sabotaging by talking yourself out of it, or quitting after one slip up because the plan was based on perfection, right? Something you were going to do every day. And my friend, none of this is evidence that you can't stick to anything. It simply means the resolution didn't match what your nervous system could support yet. Every woman's nervous system has a different capacity. Some women can tolerate more pressure, more intensity, more change at one time. And others need more gentle steps, okay, a slower buildup. Not because one woman is stronger than the other. It's just because of your own personal biology, your stress history, your own temperament, your hormones, and even your genetics. They all shape what your nervous system can hold. This is why comparison never works. You're not supposed to change the way that somebody else changes, right? You're supposed to change in the way your body was designed to change. And this is one of the reasons I use DNA testing inside the academy, because your genes actually reveal how your stress pathways function, how sensitive your dopamine receptors are, how quickly or slowly you recover, how much rest do you need, and how your nervous system responds to pressure and change. When you understand your design, you stop trying to force yourself into someone else's blueprint, and you start working with the way God uniquely wired you. Your brain was never designed to leap. It was designed to repeat, to build slowly, to strengthen patterns through training and not pressure. And once you understand that, once you stop shaming yourself for not doing more, and you start honoring the way your body was created to receive change, everything shifts. You stop blaming yourself, you stop starting over, and you begin building change from a place of safety and not by force. You start building change the way your body was designed to receive it. Okay, let's move on to number 2. This is the next thing that we have to understand if we want change that is actually going to stick. Your nervous system is not looking for perfection. It's actually looking for predictability. Like that's it. So when you set a goal that sounds like, I'm doing this every single day, no exceptions, no slip-ups, perfect or nothing, you might feel disciplined on day 1. In fact, you probably do. You might even feel empowered on day 2 or 3. But your nervous system is quietly watching for one thing. What happens when I can't keep this pace? Because perfection is not a rhythm, it's a pressure. And pressure pushes the nervous system out of safety. So here's what happens. You do great for 4 days. You miss one day. And suddenly the whole thing feels ruined. Am I right? And it's because your nervous system doesn't know what to do with a rigid plan that leaves no room for being human. Plan built on perfection creates ambiguity the moment you slip. And the nervous system hates ambiguity. And here's what I mean by that. Your nervous system has one job. It's to scan the environment and answer the question, am I safe or am I not safe? It doesn't do nuance. It doesn't do gray areas. It doesn't understand maybes. And then life happens and you slip. Your nervous system has no clear pathway for what comes next. The plan didn't allow for being human. In ambiguity, that sense of, wait, am I still on track? Did I fail? Should I start over? It's interpreted as danger by your nervous system. Not logical danger, biological danger. Because now your brain has to make new decisions, figure out new rules, and burn more energy than it planned for. And when the brain senses an unnecessary energy drain, it pushes you toward the easiest solution. Stop the plan. And this is why one missed day feels like failure. Not because the miss is like this really big deal, but because the plan was built in a way that couldn't absorb it. And this is why rigid resolutions collapse so quickly. They leave no room for sickness, for travel, for stress, exhaustion, unexpected life moments, your period, your kids needing you, your spouse needing you, your body needing rest, a friend needing you, all real life things. If your plan doesn't allow you to be human, your nervous system will abandon it the moment you are. But when the goal is built with predictability instead of perfection, meaning you have your best, better, and bare minimum versions, the nervous system can stay regulated this way. You don't spiral, you don't start over, you actually can stay in the game. Predictability creates safety, and safety creates consistency. This is a part most resolutions miss, and what I'm going to go into detail about very shortly here. Okay, first let's move on to number 3. This next piece, we're talking about dopamine, and this one affects everyone. That beautiful surge that you feel at the beginning of a resolution. There's this lightness, this excitement, this clarity, this feeling of like, I can do this. That's dopamine. Dopamine is the brain's motivation chemical. It gives you push, it gives you spark, it gives you that little rush of possibility. Dopamine loves beginnings. It loves novelty. It loves fresh starts. It loves a clean slate moment, which is why so many of us feel unstoppable on day 1. But by day 5 or 10 or 14, that novelty starts to fade. And with it, dopamine naturally drops. And that's just physiology doing what physiology does. But when dopamine drops, all the things that felt exciting in the beginning, they start to feel heavier. The morning walk feels harder. The protein prep feels annoying. The bedtime routine feels too structured. The workout feels like a chore. And so many women interpret this shift as a sign of failure. Like, I guess I'm just not that motivated. I must not want this enough. Why do I always quit? No, my friend. Nothing is wrong with your commitment. Nothing is wrong with your discipline. Your brain simply wasn't created to maintain this high intensity excitement without frequent, quick feedback loops. Without wins, rewards, or some form of progress that tells the brain, yes, you're doing it. Keep going. This is working. And to take this deeper, we are wired to seek dopamine constantly. This is part of our design. Dopamine helps us to pursue goals, to feel reward, to take action, to repeat habits, to stay focused, to push through a challenge. God wired our brains to need that sense of progress. But here's where modern life complicates it. We can get a quick dopamine hit from scrolling, sugar, online shopping, caffeine, multitasking, constant notifications, and from the excitement of starting something new. So your brain learns to chase quick dopamine and not long-term dopamine. It wants fast and easy, not slow and steady. And resolutions, especially the big ones, often don't give quick and frequent feedback. They require sustained effort before you see meaningful results, which means dopamine gets bored, kind of starts wandering, looks for something new. It pulls you toward the next fresh start instead of that hard middle, right? This is why beginning is always easier than continuing. It's why women love planning and prepping and mapping things out. And then they struggle to sustain the very plan they created. Your dopamine system is simply in this beginner mode and not maintenance mode. And if we don't understand this, we'll keep thinking the solution is more discipline, when the real solution is designing goals that give the brain more quick wins, more clarity, a more predictable reward. So motivation gets you started. Dopamine keeps you interested. But rhythm, and I'm talking steady, predictable rhythm, this is what carries you through. This is why most resolutions fizzle out. They weren't built with the right dopamine structure, small wins, quick progress, predictable reward, positive feedback. And once you understand that, you can stop chasing motivation and you start building habits your dopamine system can actually support. So now that we understand how dopamine works, here's the good news. We can design goals that work with our dopamine system instead of against it. We can build goals that feed momentum instead of draining it. Because dopamine isn't released by perfection. It's released by completion, by those tiny moments of, yes, I did what I said I would do. So let's talk about how to create the kind of goals that give you healthy, steady dopamine along the way, instead of that big burst at the beginning that just kind of fizzles out by week 2. So number 1, I want you to start with a goal that your nervous system actually believes. Let's talk about this idea of small goals, okay? Because it's been watered down on the internet and it deserves better than that. I'm not telling you to shrink your goals because you're weak or you're unmotivated or you can't handle the bigger goals. I'm telling you to shrink them because your nervous system can't commit to a goal that it doesn't believe. Your brain doesn't reward intention. It rewards evidence. So when you set this massive goal, like I'm going to walk 5 miles every single morning, your brain immediately checks its internal history and it goes, okay, but have we ever done that before? Like consistently with the schedule that you have, with your stress load? And if the answer is no, it hesitates. It doesn't attach dopamine to that goal because it doesn't recognize it as achievable yet. But when you say, I'm going to walk for 5 minutes, or I'm going to take a short walk after lunch, your brain says, oh, well, we can do that. We've done that before. That feels safe. And it might sound small. You're thinking 5 minutes, but the minute you complete it, even something that small, your brain gets a proof point. This quick hit of dopamine that says, see, we follow through. We do what we say we're going to do. We're talking neurobiology here. And I know for those of you thinking like 5 minutes, I want you to know that 5 minutes is not the point, okay? The point here is believability, momentum, safety. Those are the points. Because these small wins stack. And stacked wins create trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your rhythm, trust in the entire process. And once trust is established, then the bigger goals become doable. Not because you forced yourself into discipline, but because your brain now has a pattern of evidence. So small doesn't mean insignificant, small means repeatable. And repeatable is what rewires your brain. And then at that point is when we can increase the number, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Number 2, I want you to create a best, better, and bare minimum plan. Here's where we can take things deeper. And this, again, it's not about lowering your standards. This is about giving your nervous system a predictable path forward, no matter what kind of day you're having. Most resolutions fail because they only have one version, the perfect day version, right? And how many perfect days do we have? The perfect day goals collapse the moment that real life shows up. But when you have a best, better, bare minimum structure, this gives your nervous system something it absolutely loves. Clear options, clear pathways, zero ambiguity. So it sounds something like this. Best is I'm going to walk 20 minutes a day. Better is I'm going to walk 10 minutes a day. Bare minimum is I'm walking to the mailbox and back. And I want you to hear me out. Again, this is not about aiming low. This is about removing uncertainty. Because the moment you miss your perfect version of the plan, the nervous system starts asking questions it can't answer. Am I still on track? Did I fail? Do I need to start over? What happens now? Do I wait till next year? But when you have the best, the better, and the bare minimum plan, you've already answered those questions ahead of time. Do you see that? You've built clarity into the structure. It tells your brain, no matter what today looks like, we still win. We still follow through. We still keep our promise to ourselves. And that matters because every version is a completion. Every completion releases dopamine. Every dopamine release reinforces identity. And identity is what keeps you consistent. It's not willpower, my friends. You stay in the game not because you're perfect, but because you stayed predictable. Predictable goals calm the nervous system. Predictable goals build consistency, and they create safety. Safety, as opposed to pressure, is what allows change to take root. So spend some time with that, pen to paper, and put together your best, your better, and your bare minimum. Number 3, this is so hard for us ladies. We need to celebrate the micro wins, even if they feel small. And it's something that we almost never do. And it's one of the biggest reasons that our resolutions fall apart. We don't acknowledge our progress. We almost rush right past it without even noticing it. We hit a small win and we immediately think, okay, but it should have been bigger. Or, yeah, but I still have so far to go. Or, anyone could have done that. But here's the thing, your brain absolutely depends on micro wins to keep going. Micro wins release dopamine. Dopamine reinforces identity. Identity builds consistency. So every time you gloss over a win, every time you tell yourself it really wasn't big enough or a big deal, you're literally withholding the dopamine that your brain needs to stay motivated. Acknowledging progress is not self-indulgence. Again, this is neurobiology. When you say something as simple as, I kept my promise to myself today. I showed up in the way that I could today. Lord, thank you for the strength to do this. You're giving your brain a reward, a signal, a reason to repeat the action tomorrow. So this isn't about celebrating for the sake of celebrating. This is about telling your nervous system, see, we're doing it. We are the kind of woman who follows through. And that identity shift is everything. Women collapse not because they lack discipline, but because they get no internal reward for what is working. And the reward doesn't have to be big. It can be a small moment of recognition, a deep breath, a check mark on a calendar, a whispered, thank you. You did it. Just a small acknowledgement that creates a full feedback loop. I showed up. I completed something. I recognized it. So dopamine is released. The brain has registered success and the habit strengthens. That loop is what your brain craves. It's what your nervous system trusts. And it's what makes consistency feel possible. Because you don't build momentum by achieving big things. You build momentum by noticing the small things. And the women who learn to honor micro wins don't just stay consistent, they actually enjoy the process. But the problem is that most of us aren't very good at acknowledging our own wins. Like we skip right past them, we minimize them. We assume they don't count. And sometimes we need someone in our life who helps us to slow down long enough to see what God is actually doing. I have a friend like that. I'll tell her something I accomplished, and almost every time she responds with, "That's so great. How are you going to celebrate that win?" And every time it catches me off guard because my default isn't to celebrate. My default is to move on to the next thing, bigger and better, right? But her question pulls me back into that moment. It reminds me to acknowledge what is working, to honor the small steps, to recognize that God is moving even in the little things. So if you don't have someone in your corner who does that for you, find that person. Someone who reflects your growth back to you. Someone who reminds you that small wins are still wins. Someone who helps you see what you might overlook in yourself. Because celebrating your steps isn't just good for your heart, it's how your brain learns to keep going. Number 4, I want you to attach the goal to identity and not pressure. So this is one of the most powerful shifts you can make. And honestly, it's the one that separates short-term effort from long-term transformation. I want you to attach your goals to identity and not pressure. Your brain is always listening for who you believe you are. Identity drives behavior far more than discipline ever will. So when you set a resolution that sounds like, I need to move more, I have to eat healthier, I should get more consistent, your brain hears pressure and not identity. Pressure exhausts you. Identity stabilizes you. And so when you shift your language, your brain receives a whole different message. So now we're saying, I'm a woman who moves her body to support her hormones. I'm a woman who nourishes her body on purpose. I'm a woman who keeps small promises to herself. I'm a woman who honors her energy and her health. Like, do you feel the difference in those? One approach forces you. The other approach forms you. Identity gives your nervous system something to anchor to, especially on the days when motivation isn't coming through for you. We're going to have those days. Because when the goal is external, a number on the scale, a perfect streak, a clean calendar, your brain treats it as optional. But when the goal aligns with who you believe you're becoming, the brain says, oh, this is who we are now. And that identity produces a quiet but steady internal reward. A deeper kind of dopamine, the kind that doesn't require novelty or excitement or something new. Okay, just alignment. Identity is what gets you out the door for a walk on the days when you don't feel like it. Identity is what nudges you toward protein when the easy thing would have been to skip lunch or grab a quick snack. You're just living out your design. And for my faith-forward women, let me say this plainly. Identity is also where God does his deepest work. Not in pressure, not in performance, but in the quiet becoming, in the slow reshaping, in the steady renewing of your mind. When your goals are rooted in identity, you stop trying to fix yourself and you start becoming someone who moves in partnership with how God created your body to thrive. This is where change starts to feel natural and not forced. It feels supported and not strained, aligned and not pressured. Because you're no longer acting your way toward transformation. You're becoming your way toward it. So here's the takeaway. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more willpower. You don't need the perfect plan or the perfect streak. What you need is a goal structure that's actually compatible with how God designed your brain and your body to function. A structure that gives you quick wins that your dopamine system can anchor to, that gives you clear pathways that your nervous system can trust, and the small moments of confidence that stack over time. Because consistency doesn't grow from pressure, it grows from that rhythm, from identity, from predictability, from knowing that even your smallest efforts matter. It grows from the kind of goals that your brain can actually believe in, and not the kind that it feels threatened by. Small, repeatable wins do more for your transformation than any giant leap ever will. And when your goals are built with compassion instead of perfection, with clarity instead of rigidity, your dopamine system becomes an ally. It helps to guide you. It encourages you. It supports you every step of the way. So you don't need a new you. You just need a new approach. An approach that works with the woman you already are and the woman God is shaping you to become. Before we go, I want to leave you with something very practical. If you have a resolution you're thinking about, the best thing you can do for yourself is to not wait until January 1st to start leaning into it. January 1st, we know it's just a date on a calendar. There's nothing magical about it. And for most women, waiting until that day actually adds pressure. The pressure that your nervous system can't sustain. Your brain doesn't want a big leap in January. Your brain wants a small beginning today. Because when you start early, when you take a simple but believable step today, this week, you give your brain something it absolutely thrives on. A head start. You give it evidence, a pattern, a little proof point that says, we're already doing this. I am the kind of woman who. So let me make this very concrete. Okay, these are simplified, but I think it's going to help you understand. Maybe you're wanting to start fasting in January. That's your resolution. Don't jump straight into a 24-hour fast on January 1st if you haven't been practicing this already. Start practicing gentle eating windows now. Maybe you haven't even practiced fasting 12 to 13 hours. Start there. Maybe it's just eating dinner earlier in the evening. Just enough to build safety and rhythm into your body so that when January 1st comes, you just keep building upon it. Maybe you're wanting to walk daily. Don't promise yourself out the gate 45 minutes every single morning. Start with 5 minutes after lunch right now. Start with 5 minutes in the mornings most days of the week. Whatever feels doable today. Maybe you're wanting to increase how much you're strength training or starting to strength train. You've heard all of the benefits for women over 40. Don't aim for, 4 structured workouts a week right out the gate. Start by practicing the habit of just showing up. 10 minutes. 10 minutes of movement. Get your reps in before January even arrives. And maybe you just simply want to, start cleaning up your eating. Don't overhaul your entire pantry on New Year's Day. Start adding protein to breakfast this week. Add a vegetable to dinner. Add some morning light that stabilizes cravings before they even start. So these tiny steps aren't prep. What they are is the transformation. They're the beginning of the new rhythm that you're building, that you'll just continue with on January 1st. And the beautiful part is that starting now removes the pressure from January 1st. Because when January does roll around, you're not starting a brand new life with brand new rules. You're simply continuing something you've already begun. Your nervous system loves that. Your dopamine system loves that. Your identity loves that. Because now you're not trying to become someone new on January 1st. You're just deepening who you've already started becoming. And that, sister, that is how you build follow through. I want to pull all of this back to something deeper, something I know you already feel in your spirit. When we look at scripture, we don't see God pushing his people into perfection overnight. We see him moving slowly and intentionally, day by day, step by step, rhythm by rhythm. morning and evening, work and rest, seed time and harvest, 6 days and Sabbath, wandering to the promised land, not in one leap, but through formation. There is nothing in God's design, nothing in creation that demands instant, dramatic change. He builds slowly, steadily, in repetition, and he calls it good. So when we talk about small wins and predictable rhythms and identity and compassion over perfection, we're not just talking about neuroscience. We're talking about God's design for human transformation. You were never meant to white knuckle your way into a new season. You were never meant to shame yourself into change. You were never meant to sprint your way into identity. He renews your mind, not in one instant, but over time. He restores your strength, and it's not through striving, but through steady trust. He reshapes your habits, not by demanding perfection, but by inviting you into alignment. And I want you to hear this clearly. Your small wins honor him. Your gentle changes honor him. Your steady faithfulness honors him. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing because you aren't changing fast enough. You are being shaped. You are being formed. You are being led. And when your resolutions shift from, I have to become a new woman overnight, to I'm becoming the woman God is forming me into, one small step at a time. Sister, everything softens. Everything aligns. Everything becomes sustainable. Because now you aren't fighting your biology and you aren't fighting God's design. You're moving with both of them. And that changes everything. So as we wrap this up, here's what I want you to hold on to. You don't have to overhaul your life to experience real change. You don't have to become a different woman overnight. And you don't have to wait for January or Monday or the perfect moment to begin. You can start right where you are, with goals that your brain can believe, with pathways that your nervous system can trust, with micro wins your dopamine can anchor to, and with an identity that grows steadier and clearer each day. Because transformation doesn't happen in the giant leaps. It happens in the steady faithfulness. One step, one choice, one moment at a time. And when you build your goals with compassion instead of pressure, with rhythm, with identity, your body begins to feel safe enough to change. And your faith roots that change in something bigger than willpower, in the God who formed your mind, designed your rhythms, and who walks with you in every season of becoming. You are not meant to sprint. You are meant to grow. You are meant to be shaped. And you are capable of so much more than you think. Not because you can force yourself into it, but because you can trust the process he built into your very design. All you have to do is begin in a way that your body can hold on to. Okay, my friend, thank you for being here with me today. I hope this episode gave you both the clarity and the gentleness that you need as you think about any changes you're wanting to make, whether that's this month, this week, next month, today. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I want support, I want a roadmap, I want someone to help me understand what my body needs, then I want you to make sure that you are on the wait list for the DNA Reset for Fat Loss Academy. This is where we take everything we talked about today and we personalize it to your body using advanced DNA testing and a comprehensive lab panel so that you finally know what's happening beneath the surface and what your metabolism, your hormones, and your nervous system specifically need to thrive. It's the most grounded and grace-filled, science-backed approach I've ever created. So if you want to go deeper and if you want clarity, if you want a plan that actually works for you, the Academy is where this happens. And you can join the waitlist through the link in the show notes. And if this episode encouraged you, would you share it with another woman who might need this today? We're not meant to walk this journey alone. I'll see you next week, sister. That's it for today on the Nourish to Thrive podcast. If you found value here, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or send it to someone who's walking a similar path. Keep showing up, keep asking questions, and know that healing is possible, especially when you trust the one who designed your body to heal. Until next time, stay rooted in truth and nourished in grace.